Hi everyone, this is going to be an arts talk, just putting it out there. Unusual event for the afternoon. So I'm going to be talking about the use of the body as an instrument of speech, which was particularly pertinent in the 17th century, where the body was a text from which good and bad character could be read. Furthermore, gesture was seen as a universal language common to all mankind, and was the subject of early modern scientific study, as well as gesture manuals and etiquette. So what I'm going to be examining is actually the use of gesture and the body in a 17th century play by Isabelle Wynne, and this is actually probably one of the only places where we can see gesture used in a sort of a natural setting. It's very difficult for us to sort of see how gesture and the body would have been used. So I'm going to be looking at this play, which actually contains an unusually high amount of stage direction. So it provides us with a lot of opportunities to see what's going on. So first I'm going to introduce the play. It's called A Forced Marriage, and it's by this woman, Isabelle Wynne. Obviously she was a woman. She was a spy for Charles II in the Dutch Wars. She was also the first commercially successful female playwright. And The Forced Marriage, as the play veers between tragedy and comedy, as the lovers Philander and Erminia are forced apart when Philander's friend, the war hero Alcipius, asks the king for Erminia's hand in marriage for a reward for his victories on the battlefield. In the confined world of the court, rumours spread, plots form, and friendships are destroyed as secret loves are revealed. So what makes The Forced Marriage so different from other plays of the time is the fact that it contains so much stage direction. Ben is really concerned with the language of the body as well as scripted language, and how it heightens the tension of the moment, conveying more dramatic reaction. And on the other hand, there's actually moments where speech and the action of the body work against one another, conveying the fraught decisions and torn emotions that the play relies upon. So we're looking at the later 17th century, around the time of the restoration of Charles II, and actually this was a time when hand gesture and the body gesture were really coming to the forefront of scientific investigation. These are some extracts from John Bulwer's Chirologia, published in 1644, and it is a real mammoth of a book. Basically, you can see this example on the right, going through all different hand gestures that were used in contemporary society, looking at what they meant and how people interpreted them. And Bulwer was actually a pioneer of education for the deaf, and so he was really interested in how hand gestures could actually convey really specific emotions. However, at the same time, the use of the body and the hands was key to the culture of civility, which changed constantly. People at the time were absolutely obsessed with not only how you spoke, but what you said with your body and what you said with your hands. And there's a constant publication of all these different manuals called the Book of Demeanour, the School of Good Manners, the Rule of Civility, and these were bestsellers of their day. These manuals established codes of behaviour and how the whole body spoke through movements and reactions. And if you gave too much away, that was highly unfashionable. So it sort of showed you how to convey your body to not only give too much away, but give off the correct impression. Also, courtesy and civility were seen as key concepts in the mentality of the educated elite. They implied not just ways of doing things like eating or washing, but ways of structuring and interpreting the world. Impolite actions such as wiping the face with the sleeve, spitting, or poor posture were defined by terms like rustical and bestial. Manners, therefore, subverted the animal instincts and behind a more polished exterior. So now we're going to go into the play itself and looking at some examples. So I've got here a coronation portrait of Charles II, and he'd actually been crowned less than 10 years before The Forced Marriage was written, and there was a huge surge of interest in not only the monarchy, but also etiquette and the way the court worked. And actually the first scene of the play is set in the court. It's after a military victory. It's a very male-dominated atmosphere. And this is where we get to see gesture's primary purpose, which was to demonstrate politeness and deference, especially in demarcating and enforcing social and sexual hierarchy. In this small, enclosed world, how the courtiers interact with one another is vital to understanding their role in the play. And in this sort of all-male celebration of the military victory, Philander and Alcipius move in very deliberately crafted manners to show their deference to the king and politeness to one another. And there's actually very little room for any unguarded affection or spontaneous reaction. So even when Erminia is given away in marriage to Alcipius, Philander can't do anything about it. He's actually completely static. It's fascinating because this is one of the very few points in the play where there's no stage direction given at all. And this is in complete contrast to the next scene where Erminia is with Princess Galatea, and the stage direction is that Galatea meets her, embraces her, and weeps. And this is highly unusual. Galatea is a princess. This show of affection from royalty would have been absolutely unexpected to the audience, as when approaching royalty, lower ranks would normally be expected to bow, keep their eyes lowered, speak when spoken to, and not even touch the clothing of a higher ranked person. And this really sets Erminia and Galatea out. Their sort of show of informality after this sort of stiff world of the court really creates a great contrast. And so the next one we have is hand gestures. And there's some really specific interpretations that we can make. For example, one of them is laying the hand on the heart. And it's actually used several times. Erminia first uses it when she lays her hand on her heart when stating, "Aught but Philander can inhabit here." And we might just think, oh, she's just gesturing to her heart. That's just a centre of affection. But then the same gesture is used later in the play when Alcipius discovers Erminia and Philander embracing. Here he is absolutely anguished and erupts with betrayal. "I dream and know not how she could be thus base, thus fast and loose, but here I am informed it is no vision. This was designed before, I find it now." And in the same direction, he's actually directed to put his hand on his heart. So I'm just going to quickly go through the others, all right. So that sort of shows that it's actually a vow, and this is something, hand on the heart now is not a gesture that we know now, but actually if we look at the scientific manuals, we can actually see how it works. So I'm just going to go through quickly to the last one, which is interaction between different ranks of society. And we have here a comic reaction in the play, where when one of the characters fails to address another one correctly, he only pulls off his hat and passes on without stopping. Normally when you addressed another person at the court, you would bow fully, take off your hat and stop. And this actually becomes a comical fight on stage. But it's not only a moment of comedy, because it represents the tensions between the strata of society. We actually have evidence of there being lawsuits brought against certain gentlemen for uttering insulting, not only uttering insulting words, but refusing to remove their hat and bow. So it sort of represents all these tensions going on in the society that we just wouldn't get now. So what I basically wanted to do was just give a really quick insight of how these stage directions give us an insight into 17th century society, and basically to be careful with what you do with your body and watch what you do with your hands.
What can you tell us about the likely audience at the time? Particularly would it have been people who were part of the social and cultural elite who would have known about all of these candidates of things?
Yeah, the audiences for this time they came from all stratas of society. We know that this play, we've actually had several reviews of it in the press, and we know that certain members of the aristocracy attended. We also know that the king did attend some of her plays. So we're really looking at not only the high levels, but also the lower levels who would have paid for some of the lower class seats. Theatre at this time is incredible. So many people went to see it. So it really is, there really would have been a variety of knowledge and reactions to it. There's now loads. Sorry, I think you were first.
Okay, kind of based on that question, assuming this play is still being staged, do you think that modern audiences are aware of the gestures that the playwright would have wanted the audience to be aware of, or is there something before you stage you have to give kind of an explanation of what's going on?
I think some of them are pretty obvious, but like I said, with the laying the hand on the heart, sometimes gestures have changed in their meaning, and it's only by sort of having a knowledge of 17th century society that you can really get what Aphra Behn was trying to do. But it's just sort of showing how the culture of civility has changed over the centuries.
Is this all related to body language? Body language is something that we do and we may or may not be aware of hand or heart. So what was it structured and artificial, or was it something which actually people did because it was part of the way to communicate? And they were just trying to get the actors to bring this onto the stage.
So you're talking about in the stage or just in general life?
I meant on the stage. How is it related to the way we think of body language nowadays?
Well, certainly in sort of the court scenes, this very stiff and formal way of moving and interacting was really reflecting the life of the court at the moment, which was highly, highly structured, and there were all these manuals which sort of said exactly how to place your body, your hands, even your eyes. And so the culture of civility was really focused on how people controlling their bodies and getting rid of these unconscious actions.